Hi everybody, this is Jim Aikin. In this quick video, I'm going to give you a tour of Avenger, which you're seeing on your screen. There's no need for me to try to go into all the details of this synthesizer because, first of all, it would take hours, and second, their company website already has a couple of dozen good tutorial videos that go into various details, so we really don't need to cover that information again here. Just quickly, on the upper left, we have the patch browser. These are the factory sounds in various categories: bells, chords, drums, and so on. Here we have the oscillator section, and here we have the VCA and the filter section, and a wave shaper, and some LFOs if we need them. And over here we have the effects. Now, the first thing to understand about Avenger is that everything that looks interesting is interesting. This little plus sign, for example, if I click on this, I will be adding oscillators to the waveform. And you can see the mute and solo buttons up here, which will disappear if I move the mouse away. Well, let's get rid of that. Let's say delete, delete, delete. Now, what's this down here? This is the editor for the oscillator. And I'm going to show you just one trick. Right now what we have, as you can see in the graphic, is a sawtooth wave. Pretty boring. But before we even get to the filters, the oscillator has its own filter with a multi-band area that can be animated like this. Sounds like chorusing, but we haven't even applied the chorus effect yet. Another thing I want to show you is, oh, let's stop that. That's distracting. Thank you. How do you add modulations? Well, let's see. Let's suppose I want velocity to modulate something. At the left end of every one of these little tags, there's a little pattern of buttons. I can click and go, okay, I want to attach that to the transpose. When I do that, you'll see a little orange triangle there. And if I click on that a couple of times, okay, now the velocity is going to affect the pitch. Because we're modulating that. And in addition, it opens up automatically a modulation routing in the mod matrix. If we had a lot of mod matrix routings, we can display them on a big column, but let's close that for now. Now, each of these areas along here, the arpeggiator, yeah, that's a drum sequencer, step sequencer, pitch, this is a pitch envelope, has more useful goodies. We have freeform modulation envelopes. We can double click there, and then we can drag up or down to change the curve. And there can be up to 8 of these modulation envelopes in a given patch if we keep clicking the plus buttons. And I could go on like this for days. If we look at the filter types, oh, here are the filter types. There's about 50 of them, I think. This business over here is the oscillator output routing, so input and output. So if I don't want to use the wave shaper, I click there and it goes away. If I don't want to use the filter, I click there and it goes away. If I don't want to use the effects, there are both send effects and insert effects. These are the send effects. Right now we're hearing a bit of reverb and a bit of delay. But if I click on these, the send effects will go away and we'll get a dry sound. So before we finish, I want to show you one more thing. We've got the arpeggiators patches up here. I'll double click there. Now this is, well, let's find out what it does. pretty interesting. Two things are worth note about this. The first is that oscillator 1 is being controlled by arpeggiator 1 up here, and oscillator 2 is being controlled by arpeggiator 2. So there are actually two arpeggiators running at once, which is very nice. And each of them can have 4 32-note patterns in a row, and when this is lit, they're going to sequence with one another, which is why there's 128 notes in this pattern. But let's say I want a shorter pattern. This particular patch is set up with a shortening button here, which, if you can see that this has gotten dark gray, and now the arpeggiation is only half as long as it was before. Well, I think there's something a little bit wrong with the harmony in that, but it illustrates the feature. The macros can control anything that you happen to want them to control, again, by clicking on the little button thing and moving it over to here. We gain another modulation routing. As you can see, it showed up as a new modulation routing in here. And I'm not getting it to edit right now, but I could edit it over here. Oh, I want to show you one more thing before we go. This stuff over here, if I click, let's say here, there is a multi-step modulation routing effect here, so that the input from something as simple as the mod wheel could go through a whole contour between the minimum and the maximum input values. So you can control quite complicated things with the modulation matrix. And that's maybe enough for a quick video. What do you think? Do you want to know more? Go to the website, read the review, whatever. Bye.